welcome back everyone to another DeFi Raiders AMA. My name is Relentless. Today I'm talking to Dakota from Timeless Fi. Super excited to talk to you. Thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate your time. You want to kind of go ahead and introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your role on the team and everything, and your background.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you for having me on. I've really been looking forward to this one. So my name is Dakota. I lead the growth unit for Timeless, and that also covers Bunny. So everything related to community management, marketing, and business development is kind of going to fall underneath my umbrella. You'll find me hopefully in all those things. If not, make sure you tag me and get me involved.
All right, I'm just going to tag you relentlessly, no pun intended.
Please do.
All right, so very cool. All right, so we'll just start with kind of just I know you guys have two separate things here with Timeless and Bunny, so we'll start with Timeless. So first, what is Timeless?
So Timeless is a yield market where we're allowing users to come in and long and short yield. The main problem we're trying to solve here is capital efficiency. A good way to think about it would be let's use staked ETH as an example. So you have one staked ETH, and for purposes of this, let's say it has 4% yield coming in, and you deposit it into Timeless. You're going to get back one staked ETH PYT and one staked ETH NYT. The PYT token is going to have 100% of the yield associated with the underlying asset. So that PYT in this case is going to get you 4% yield in staked ETH. And then the NYT is going to trade opposite of the PYT. So at any one point in time, the PYT and the NYT both need to equal the underlying asset. The PYT is never going to be able to trade over half of the value of the underlying asset, and the PYT will never be able to trade under half of the underlying asset, and the NYT shouldn't be able to trade above half of the underlying asset. And go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, I'm super interested in kind of the use cases from there with each of the individual tokens, because like the concept, on its face value, right? If all you're looking at is the PYT and the NYT, it's it makes sense, right? Two tokens got to equal one. Price goes up with the yield curve as the yield and stuff goes, but then there's all these different things that can be done with
Right.
those two different tokens, and that's what is so unique about this and is different than anything I've seen so far is the way that you can, yeah, all the different things that you can do with that. So I'm super excited to talk about those. Um,
Cool. So the two main use cases here are going to be boosted yield and hedging, either that you want to protect yourself in case yields go up, like maybe you've borrowed somewhere else in crypto and you're trying to hedge like a risk that your borrowing costs are going to increase too much, or maybe you want to hedge that the borrowing costs are going to go down. So um, let's talk about boosted yield first. So how you would get that, let's go back to our example of you have one staked ETH PYT and one staked ETH NYT, and you're producing 4% interest, which is the same as what you would have gotten if you just had the staked ETH token in this situation. If you then take your NYT and sell it and buy, actually, I guess you don't even technically have to buy anything else. If you just go and you just sell your NYT, now you've all of a sudden created a capital efficient situation where you have a little bit of boost, and then you can do things like go back into the market and purchase, just go use this capital that you created on some other venture. And that's where if you go into our user interface, you're going to see a boost section. That's what that number really is. You're just taking the value of PYT, which has 100% of the yield of the underlying asset, and dividing it by the cost of the native underlying asset, or the native asset. For your hedging, it's not going to trade in a vacuum, right? Like this really is a yield market. So um, your PYTs should go up in value when the market expects the yield to go up in value, and the NYT is going to trade opposite of that. So if let's say everyone really piles into ETH 2.0, and it's this great yielding asset, the yield should slowly go down, right? And which would lead to the NYTs theoretically going up in value because they're going to trade opposite of the PYT. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. All right, so a user mints, and so the way I'm trying to structure this conversation is, from a perspective of me going in and utilizing this, right? Because this is something that I've never done before, right? And I'm not used to doing, speculating on yield or hedging, right? I know a little bit about like delta neutral and pseudo delta neutral and stuff like that. So I'm trying to like, fully comprehend this, like from if I'm sitting at a computer looking at this kind of perspective, right? So I understand the concept of the PYT, the NYT. Where all can so when I go in and mint that token, right, mint that position, it splits between PYT and NYT. Where all can I take that PYT to utilize it to earn yield?
So that PYT's just going to earn the yield from the underlying asset. At this point in time, it's not you're not going to be able to take it into a lending protocol and borrow it against it, or lend it out, or do anything like that. At this point, it's really just inside of our ecosystem, unless you end up taking it over to Bunny, which we can get into if you'd like eventually. But yeah, at this point, the yield, any yield you're working for or hedging against, all kind of needs to happen inside of the timeless user interface.
Okay, but you can take we haven't gotten to it yet, but XPYT, right, is the one that you could take out and start using that in other protocols, right?
Yep, that we just don't have any protocols set up at this point. Yeah, there's no one announced yet. It's something we're working on. I'm sorry, I don't have any alpha for you today, unfortunately.
Oh
I
no,
try.
no worries, no worries. Yeah, just no, totally cool. I know that you guys are like super early, right, and a lot of the things that you're developing. So I'm trying to understand it from like a structural perspective rather than a hey, this is everything that we're doing and where you can use it kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what
So
is an
the XPYT.
example of a type of protocol it could work on?
A type of protocol it could work on, for example, let's just say like an ohm fork might come in and say that we want to stack this and use it as collateral. So basically anywhere that's willing to use it as collateral. And yeah, you're right that the X PYT is probably going to be the one that gets adopted more for that purposes, just because it actually auto compounds, and so from a technical standpoint, I think that should be easier to build on top of. But yeah, I would assume most places that um, allow borrowing. So, anything, and of course, not all assets that go through Timeless. Timeless is permissionless, so anyone can really create a yield market. But like the stable coins and LSDs of the world, that are eventually going to be considered fairly strong collateral. Um, it should be pretty composable.
Yeah, I'm super interested to see how this kind of plays out, like the different use cases. Um, it's a wildly cool concept because to me, like I mentioned earlier, it kind of feels like with your yield hedging, right, you're able to with just with that one position, able to kind of create a pseudo delta neutral position. Am I looking at that correctly in a way?
You are looking at that correctly. So the big data point that we will continue to collect is how do yield markets in Web3 trade differently uh, compared to the actual market. So like, they clearly aren't going to trade exactly one for one. You know, the the price of ETH could lose $100 today, and it's not necessarily going to impact what the lending market associated with USDC on Aave is. But as we saw an example of, and I'm sorry, I don't have any data from our website as to what happened, but when we saw all those stable coins, what was that, like 2 weeks ago, start losing their peg, the the yield on Aave for Tether just went through the roof, right? Like I think at one point it was like 90% APY for Tether. And so those are going to be, the big brains out there, and I am not one of them, that are going to be able to correctly predict and create models around this concept. That really is going to be where the hedgers make their bank, or speculators, I guess, in a lot of cases.
Yeah, yeah, super cool. And it's one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you so much is just I'm seeing all these new concepts, right, that are coming out. Like Pendle has yield stripping, and like there's other protocols out there doing all these different things with the way they're tokenizing. But if I'm not mistaken, I think you guys are the first that has developed a tokenization model where you can actually do all this, the speculation, yield hedging, yield boosting, and like earning fees like throughout. You know what I mean? All with one technical token or one technical underlying position, if that
Yep,
makes sense.
yep. And another big difference, compared to some other protocols that might be doing something similar. I think I can't remember who you just mentioned, but um, we
Oh, Pendle
are
on
yeah,
Arbitrum.
yeah. Okay, so we are a variable rate with no maturity date. So when you use timeless PYTs, what you're getting, perpetual yield with no, or yeah, perpetual boosted yield with no risk of liquidation and no maturity. So it is something that you could just stack, and that's why I kind of mentioned treasuries, as that was one of the early target demographics I had. When I first started working on biz dev, it was like, okay, let's go talk to portfolio managers for these treasuries, and uh, learn from their opinions on it, and continue to iterate. But yeah, it's a pretty cool asset. I love the fact that there's no maturity dates personally.
Yeah, I agree, and that's I was going to ask you about that, right? So there's no maturity just because of the way the boost fluctuates, right? With the yield rate goes up, yield rate goes down, like the boost changes so much, and theoretically this is going to kind of be, um, it's going to fluctuate so much, right? That there's no necessarily need to have a max boost per se,
Yeah, so
or a
we're
max maturity achieved with boost, I guess.
we're getting a little outside of my technical understanding, but so we all four came from 88 MPH, right? And that was a
Okay.
fixed yield rate protocol. And over there, the whole goal is that whenever you offer a fixed rate, you need to, the best way to de-risk. I believe there are four lines of security for 88 MPH when it comes to its offerings. But probably the easiest is to um, sell or allow someone else to come in and speculate on their variable rate, because you're giving them a fixed rate, and someone else needs to take the other side of that trade and speculate on the variable rate. in exchange for, yeah, in the case, and yeah, I'm just going to talk and use 88 MPH as an example for this. In the case of 88 MPH, we would say we'll give you a 2% fixed, and in exchange for that, we're going to go sell the variable rate in exchange for whatever the 2% fixed would equate to. So like if it was $200, we would basically sell the rights to the variable rate for $200, and that allows them to take the other side of the trade. And doing variable rates just makes like it's just way less complicated. Our liquidity, um, theoretically, is going to be easier to get deeper, and we've already kind of seen that, right? Like again, kind of pointing towards Bunny, like that's why Bunny was created, and we've kind of already started to see the beginning steps of deeper liquidity because everything's in one pool.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk about Bunny here in a little bit because as I was reading it and like trying to, and I'm with you. I'm not like the technical guy that understands like I skip past the math equations, right? Because I don't understand that shit at all. So that's like that's way above my level of of high school calculus. So
Right.
many years ago.
Yep.
So but I started to picture it out, right, with Bunny and like the way that you guys have set that model up to build that, to still reward users and build that long-term liquidity. So yeah, so I definitely see the kind of the benefits that are how that can stack up and kind of become this really deep deep pool where and work. Yeah. So all right, so one thing that another thing I want to kind of talk about with Timeless is how you guys are able to price PYT. I know it's talked about a little bit in your docs with the exponential discounting, but I just kind of wanted to see if you could explain that a little bit at kind of a higher level, not necessarily maybe a mechanical engineering level.
Right. Yeah. So at the end of the day, um, we're allowing people to speculate on the yield. We're creating boosted yield in perpetuity without risk of liquidation, um, in the form of these PYTs. And the NYT is always going to be needed to exit. Well, you're going to need one of each to exit the position, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that is pricing wise, like we're not going in and setting the price every day. The market definitely needs to set the price. Uh, and what is kind of keeping everything realistic is the fact that you need both to exit as well as, um, this kind of tug of war between boosted yield in the PYT side and, um, much higher upside if you want to speculate on appreciation in the form of NYTs. So, an NYT can trade anywhere between, a fraction of 1% of the underlying to half of the underlying. If you were to somehow be in a situation where the PYT is worth 99% of the underlying, that would mean that the NYT is worth 1% of the underlying. If you were to then pick up the NYT at 1% of the underlying and the market came back into some sort of state of balance, you're going to see a massive return versus the PYT, which can, if you want to reverse that, the PYT trades at half the value of the underlying, and then it goes to an extreme that's only a double in value, and you're kind of back in the same situation where, okay, you get 100% of the underlying yield, uh, but no sort of boost, and that's when you'd want to just switch back. You'd want to buy the NYT, right, and exit the trade.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Very cool. Um, yeah, it's just such a dynamic protocol, like overall, um, the different the different things that can be done, and kind of the different combinations of things that can be done. But how much like active management is this going to require, or is are the contracts structured in a way where you can set kind of what you're hoping to happen? Is it in, or do you? I don't know if I'm asking this correctly. Yeah,
Yeah,
how
like
much
you're
active
kind of like
management is
put in a
required?
limit order or something. Is that kind of what you're referencing?
I guess. I mean, well, I guess really the question is that I got a little off track. I guess really the question is how much active management are these positions going to require potentially?
Okay. So I think it depends, right? If we see gigantic swings in the market, especially in the yield market, and again, more data, right? Like we even at a from like my point of view, where I'm pretty in the know when it comes to these things, we don't really have a ton of data on what moves yield markets. I mean, there's like the main things, right? Like it really comes down to how much need there is in the lending and borrowing market at this point for a lot of these underlying assets. Um, on my end, let me pull back a little bit and say that we can do this with a lot of different types of yield in Web3. So I've used the example of ETH staking rewards from Lido, and now earlier and now I'm referencing the lending markets on Aave. It's really all going to come down to what I'm going to use the term sector. You're kind of speculating on yield markets in. So that's probably the first thing, but it also depends on what your end goal is. If you really are just using like say you're a treasury and you're using ETH or you're managing a treasury and you've been using staked ETH to pay your payroll and you want to create more capital efficiency and you say we're not planning on touching this ETH for 20 years, so I'm going to put a quarter of it into PYTs. You're probably not going to be managing it. Like your goal here is to collect the passive income. The passive income is going to flow in. You're going to receive 100% of the underlying passive income per PYT. So you're probably not going to mess with it. If you're buying NYTs to speculate on, a huge move to the downside in some yield market, yeah, you might that's going to be a more volatile asset. So uh, you will need to be it's probably advisable to be paying closer attention. Another thing that moves the markets, and I'm sorry, I can't remember which one of them it is. It kind of comes back to the underlying math of all this. I believe the assets that have a smaller yield, uh, let's say sub 4% APY, they're going to be more volatile than assets that have a larger yield. I'm sorry, I can't tell you why that is. I believe there's information on that in our docs. So, to answer your question in one sentence, it depends.
Yeah, yeah, makes total sense. Makes total sense. I was just kind of wondering, how it. The reason I was asking is because like there are a lot of people who want to, place their positions in certain ways, but not have to be that active. So I was just kind of seeing, how much of this applies to those people and how much of it applies to the people who are like daily active, like this is what they do every day. So
The not having a maturity date makes it easier. The biggest risk for somebody who wants to be non-active with this trade would be they want the passive income. They buy a bunch of PYTs. They're getting fat on yield, but then the market turns against them. The yield goes down. NYTs go up in value, and now they have to pay more to eventually exit the trade. Like that would be nightmare scenario, which is why it kind of comes down to your mindset and how long you're planning on holding it, I guess. So yeah, if it's a short term trade, you're going to want to pay attention.
Okay, cool. Makes sense. All right, so can we kind of talk a little bit about the benefits of XPYT? I know we like chatted a little bit about it earlier, but the auto compounding, how you're going to be able to use it without like having your yield get locked in another protocol. Yeah, just kind of some of the details on that.
Hmm. I'm not sure what you mean by um, being able to use it without it being locked in another
Um,
protocol.
Now in the docs it says, well, it says, oh, where did I find it? It was saying that you can move, with XPYT, you'll be able to use it to, you know, move PYT to other protocols and keep earning yield, but that yield is not locked. It's auto compounding back into the position.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I think my understanding of that is basically just that uh, you're going to get a better efficiency experience like all the way around. So you're going to save a lot on gas by not having to go in and constantly uh, take your yield and put it in, buy more PYTs with it, or uh, go and do something elsewhere. As far as the XPYT working in the real world, it would be similar to other wrapped products at that point. So, like your wrapped staked ETH, or really anything that's collecting yield that is composable. So we're just trying to create something that's easy for other protocols to build on top of.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Makes total sense. Um, all right. Okay. So I think we've covered kind of the vast majority of that, except I guess just if you want to touch a little bit why you guys decided to build on Uni v3, besides just capital efficiency. I know there's a lot of perks there, but if you wanted to touch on that a little bit.
We're big fans of what Uniswap's doing. The DEX market seems to be kind of shaking out as to who the winners are, and yeah, we're very happy to be building on top of them. We think they are doing a lot of things right and a lot of things that we're hopeful that we can help that ecosystem with. And where the door's not closed on building somewhere else, of course. Yeah, if everything makes sense, we will continue to expand when it comes to building on different dexes. And yeah, that's about all I got for you on that front right now.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I mean, that's a good answer. I know I don't fully understand Uni v3, um, but that's why there's smarter people to build the protocols to make it work the best. Um, but I know it is. There's a lot that can be done with it, especially when you're talking about the capital efficiency from how how deep the concentrated liquidity is there. So um, I know that
Absolutely.
that's there's a ton coming for that. So I just always kind of like to get each project, because I've only talked to a few that are actually building on top of Uni v3. So it's I feel like we're not even close to the tip of the ice, or if we're just like barely scratching the surface of the capabilities of what could be built on top of that.
From our team standpoint, and I
All
think
right.
a part of my
So,
job here is
okay,
just
so let's kind of transition to talk about Bunny, your liquidity engine. Oh, sorry, you cut out for a second. Go ahead.
no, it's okay. I let's talk about Bunny.
Yeah. All right. So Bunny, obviously, a super unique concept. If you want to kind of give the high level overview, and then we'll dive into all the different things that you guys are doing with V tokenomics there, and then your tokenomics and all that stuff. So,
Cool. So I think this is a good connective piece. So, what Bunny does is it enables projects that are still relying on Uniswap v2 or SushiSwap liquidity to migrate over to Uniswap v3 and get access to their concentrated liquidity. Uh, while this is all going on, we are going and taking what is a Uniswap V3 LP token, currently an NFT, and turning it back into an ERC20, which then allows protocols to kind of keep all their existing infrastructure while also helping to save on gas. I guess the creation of NFTs is not the most gas efficient experience. I don't know the technical reason why that is, but we think that before you start getting into the gauges, which I'm happy to talk about, we offer a lot of utility for especially the smaller LPs out there that are looking to save money on, that are, yeah, at least aware of what gas costs per transaction, because we're going to help you be more capital efficient when it comes to your transactions. So um, once you get past all of that, we went ahead and realized that we actually had, because actually the concept of Bunny, we were trying to solve our own problem. So we needed deeper liquidity for Timeless and looked around at the options on the market and decided that our best bet was to build something ourselves, and ended up with Bunny. Looked around and realized we had a really cool product that we should probably share with everyone else, and started doing that. Realized that there was a decent opportunity to just create a liquidity engine, like a full on liquidity engine. Added gauges, which were forked from its curve code, and created a token, which is LIT. It stands for Liquidity Incentive Token. And this token, once you stake it, it allows um, voters to go in and direct gauge emissions in a similar fashion that you would see with Curve or Balancer or any other phenomic product, really.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Yeah. So I like the what you guys are doing with the token as opposed to the NFT, because in reality most protocols are built to be more token friendly than NFT friendly anyways. Um, so I think that's obviously a huge incentivization for people to use it when protocols are more friendly. And I think the key thing is that there is the gas optimization, which I've heard before, but I also don't know the technical reasons why it's a little more gas friendly. So, um, but yeah, so it's a super cool model there, especially with the lit. But what I really like is how what you guys have done with OLIT to really build that liquidity, to not only benefit the end user, right? Give them an opportunity to make some money, um, but not at the expense of the protocol, right? It's yeah. So you kind of want to break down OLIT a little bit as well.
Absolutely. So, yeah, as someone who's working for this protocol, it's really nice to know what's going on behind. But we're no matter what the market conditions are, our treasury is going to be kind of always collecting funds. So how this works is that uh, VLIT holders will vote on gauges, or yep, and direct emissions to LP providers in whatever pool they choose that is whitelisted and they choose to go in on Bunny. The emissions are paid in OLIT, which is an option to buy um, lit token at a discount. When you go onto our user interface, you'll see whatever APY it is for the pool, and that number accounts for um, you paying the difference between the discount and the underlying. At this point in time, the discount is 50%. So that number, which is super exciting, can change at any point in time. The community can decide tomorrow that they want to make the discount 99% and kind of move back to the model that a lot of people are really, or 100% the model that everyone's really familiar with, where you don't have to pay anything to get back into the main token. But yeah, at this point it's 50% discount. So you come in, you provide wrapped ETH along with the equivalent amount of OLIT token you have, and then you're going to end up getting back lit in return for that. And that's just, it's such a healthy choice that the team's decided to go with for the long-term perspective of Timeless, which again should kind of make you feel a little bit better about the idea. Yeah, because some of these people or users, you when you stake your lit token to get vlit, you need to lock it for a certain period of time. uh, there's a lot of variables that can happen in this world, but it's nice knowing that if you're locking this token for 4 years at least, the protocol should be collecting revenue in the form of their incentives. Is there anything I missed there that you want me to talk about and go over again?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Did I cut out? Hello? Hey, do I still have you? Hello? Hey, can you hear me?
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
All right, there we go. Sorry, my Wi-Fi cut out for a second and it kind of disconnected. But
No worries.
yeah,
As you know,
so
that
I
happens.
yeah, I know it does, especially out here. I mean, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, so it's like I'm dealing with the best I can here. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's super cool how you guys have modeled this out. And and first, like I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, that's not like the best rewards up front. But then I started looking at how you guys have modeled this out with the halving, and in reference to, I had to read the Foo article as well to kind of understand truly how this is modeled out. Um, but you know, keeping the health of the protocol, being able to earn the emissions, but in a healthy way. Um, is if you actually look at this long term, it does incentivize that behavior to start thinking long term about how what the value of lit is going to look like in the future with the halving model and everything that's going on there. um, Theoretically, you are earning all along the way, and in the same time, like, all your position is just rapidly increasing in value over time.
We're really excited about it. And I feel like we have a very strong team that has been around. This isn't our first project. Um, my goal and one of my goals for the growth unit is just to educate and bring attention to uh, the rest of the crypto community, what we've got going on, and how thoughtful our team has been. So I'm glad you can appreciate all that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do. I've been talking to for a while there early on. Talked to a lot of degen projects, and obviously I've done my fair share of degenning. But now that you know these different protocols are starting to build you know projects that can really be sustainable for the long period, to make this more attractive to, the types of people that we need to come in and the types of money that we need to come in to really help DeFi, take roots in the future. It's when you, it's cool to like actually be able to start seeing this modeling play out in the long run, and see the stuff being built. So at first I was like, yeah, I'm not making money off this up front. But then I like looked at all the different variables here with how you guys have built out the distribution of the token over time, um, and your gauges, and then all the little different things that you're doing. And it's like, okay, well, this could be worth a shitload of money. So eventually, if you do things the right way, this could be extremely profitable for everyone who participates. So okay, so very cool. So what I also, if you want to kind of touch about on the VLIT, right? So um, you've got to hold VLIT in order to receive rewards from LPs. So another incentivized behavior for the health of the protocol. But then also what you guys are doing different is your 10x boost, um, which is huge. Do you kind of want to talk about just kind of like the rationalization of how you guys built those two parts out?
Yep. So let's start with the VLIT needing to have VLIT to receive the boost at all. That's not live yet. So I think you're referencing Foo there, which I won't get into too much detail about, but I really suggest anyone listening to this going onto our Discord. There, you just ask somebody; they'll direct you to the food documentation. It's not live yet, but there's a lot of really exciting things in there and novel concepts that will kind of hopefully, again, help everyone think long term about what we're doing. So as of right now, when you use Bunny and ULP, there's a range. And the range is 1x boost to 10x boost. If you don't have any VLIT, you're still going to get the 1x boost. What that boost is that is the incentives that we were referring to, or emissions we were referring to earlier, related to what VLIT holders are voting for. Hey, do I still have you?
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm
Can
sorry.
you hear
My
me?
phone timed out. Yeah. I only allow myself two
Okay.
hours worth of Twitter a day, and it just decided to rudely interrupt me. Um, where did I cut out?
Um, it was the last thing that I heard you say was talking about the boost.
Yeah, so the 1 to 10x boost. If you don't have any VLIT, you're still going to get the 1x boost. The 10x up to 10x boost is what happens when you start getting into uh, owning lit, staking it, and getting VLIT. And we have calculators on our website that help you determine what your boost is. The TLDR on that is that to get the full max, and this is super simplified math, but it is as close as you're gonna be able to get without doing math. You need to have the same percentage of the pool that you're LPing as you have percentage of lit, or sorry, of VLIT. So if you have 1% of the total supply of VLIT and you want a 10x boost, you need to be in pools and LPing only 1% of that pool. Once we go in and start changing things with Foo, though, you will not earn any sort of incentive boost unless you own Lit, of course. And so your other question that you had was related to us choosing the 10x boost. Um, that's really just going to come down to trying to make everyone as capital efficient as possible. That's about all I've got related to that today.
No, all good. I mean, it makes total sense. Because the boost is, they're not getting necessarily that 100% that they're used to from some of the other things, right? Like with OLIT, right? But if they have that VLIT, it makes up for it with that boost, and then with the value accrual over time. So it's when you model it all out in your head, like it's all these different factors. It totally makes sense how you guys have built it for the longevity and health of both the end user and the protocol. So yeah, super cool. And I enjoyed reading the foo what's it called, the foo
Tokenomics.
what yeah, his tokenomics about it, which is like, if I got to publish that for some other people to read, because it's very well thought out, and I learned a shitload just while I was reading it. So yeah, fungible ownership optimization.
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah. So very cool. All right. Well, okay. So I guess that's kind of, I mean, you know, can't ask you for alpha. You've already told me um, that you can't tell me who you guys are or what's that. I know you guys are super early kind of in the process of building everything, but, what's kind of like on the immediate horizon for the roadmap for what you guys are going to be rolling out that you can't talk about?
Yeah, so on the engineering side, they actually just produced a roadmap in the process of one of their recent timeless requests for comments, and in there, I believe the big gem would be to add these OLIT incentives to layer twos. So far, when you go on our UI, you can see Polygon, Optimism, and Arbitrum. So those are going to be the three targets, would be my guess. I haven't talked too much detail on which one would be first, or if we would just do them all at the same time. But we need to find a solution to bring our gauge incentives to L2s. On my side, with growth unit, we're just focused on the mandate we just put forward was really to educate the community as crypto. Sorry, educate the entire crypto community as to what we're doing. So that's really going to be everything the growth unit is focused on, just banging the drum, doing things like this.
Yeah, makes sense. And obviously the three hottest chains for different reasons. So um, can't argue with kind of the target there.
Yeah, seriously, it's going to be exciting. There's been a lot of requests. There are a few different protocols kind of poking around before we even get there. So hopefully we're gonna be welcomed when we finally do make our way fully over there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing this play out for you, and looking forward to kind of getting a follow on here after you guys have fully launched and got things rolling. So we can talk through how it's all working and all the protocols that you guys are built on top of, and all the options that the users actually have.
You got it. I'm looking forward to it already.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, that's all I got for you, Dakota. I really appreciate your time. And yeah, look forward to chatting in the future.
Cool. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. Appreciate it. Have a good night. All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. It's been another DeFi Raiders AMA. Really appreciate your time and support. We couldn't do it without you. If you're hearing this now on YouTube for the first time, please hit that like and subscribe button. Once again, I'm Relentless from DeFi Raiders. We'll see you next time.